Hello, hi guys, welcome back to the Football Showdown channel. We are back with another scouting video, and today, a striker. Finally, I get it. We've been covering defenders, midfielders, wingers, and finally, a striker on this channel. A player who's been linked with Chelsea, Arsenal, Barcelona, even Manchester United. He's a former player of Amarim. He's a player who's been spoken about a lot, who's had a lot of uh, biased and unbiased opinions regarding him, has split a lot of fan bases as well. Viktor Gyökeres. To talk more about him, let me call upon the scout, Aarush. Hey, Aarush.
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
Good. Yeah. It's going to be a video which is probably going to be still conflicting for all the
Yeah.
people out there who are going to watch, right? Because this guy has not put in any simple numbers. It's been astronomical in footballing terms, close
Mm.
to 140 or some say even 150, depending on what the correct numbers are. But from what we calculated, close to 140 goal and assists over 2 seasons, not just one, over 2 seasons. And this is club and country. Majority of it being covered by the club, obviously, right? And the way people have been raving about him, at the same time, I can find the same category, and not same, the similar category of people disregarding him. Why? Because he's been doing it at the Portuguese league. Now, his numbers at Coventry are also something to look at because I think close to 40, 41 games with close to 35 goals and assists. But then again, we have a person in our group chat saying that I watched him play and people do not regard him that highly in spite of those many goals. But the common notion is that if you can do it at the championship, you can definitely do it in the Premier League. Similar examples we can find in Watkins. Some say even Tammy Abraham. Mitrovic was a good example from recent times, right?
Delap
How
as
we,
well, right?
yeah, Delap as well, which we could cover on this channel. We do not know, but for now, Viktor Gyökeres. Thoughts, because it's very conflicting, but let's get into it. Viktor Gyökeres thoughts.
Firstly, I'd say I've been doing this thing for over 2 years now, where I scout players and stuff like that. But I
Mm,
think Gyökeres has been one of the most divided player for me to actually get back. I wrote a piece
mm,
on him back in 2024, last summer, by the way. Um, Things were very bleak that time. Why? Because it was one season of watching him at Portugal.
mm,
Fast forward to this season, he's done even better than what he was last season.
mm.
And then
Yeah.
there are similar opinions as to his strengths in terms of ball striking and then finishing, shot placement, the amount of goals he gets, and stuff like that. And the
Mm,
similar type of weaknesses that he's not really warrantedly made differences to, but
mm.
the numbers make a difference for him. There is
Right.
eye test, there is numbers,
Mm,
and then there is actual visual appeal that he's bringing into himself that is now seeing all these linked clubs actually get linked to him. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's just a bit of a dicey situation. So let's just
Mm,
do
mm.
it in an unbiased way where we speak complete facts as to what we
Yeah.
see and
True.
get forward.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, People who have watched or seen this channel from the start, if you remember, I put out a video on Gyökeres almost like 1.5 years back about like how he could be the next Arsenal striker. That was
Mhm.
purely based on numbers, like how Aarush said. People who have followed him for by the numbers looks like he's an insane player, right? But again, like how you said, eye test is another thing, and seeing how he could fit into different systems as well
Yep.
is an important factor. It's a scouting video, so let's stick to something unbiased and really structured. Let's start with his strengths. Victor Gyökeres' strengths, because he looks like a beast, but what are his actions and actual ability on the pitch?
Yeah. Let's start in possession. His key asset that visually takes people's eyes is his dribbling. Why? Because there's a certain trademark about him that doesn't really surprise me, that he likes to dribble through the wider areas. he takes on defenders 1v1. He laces the ball when he's running. He laces the ball in a way that it's in closer proximity, and he can actually draw the opponents closer and then bait them as well. So he has a slight burst of pace that he can actually benefit from, where he's very direct and unpredictable when it comes to carrying and dribbling. Next, he has again a really decently talked about asset between strikers. That is his deadly ball striking. His ball striking as a number nine is simply very dominant. Why? Because of the shot location he finds on goal in terms of
mm,
finishing. So, as a
mm,
batsman profile for Sporting this season, also he's been
mm,
eating XG for literally the whole season now. And
mm,
that's just showing you the maturity and the amount of growth that he's had over the 2 seasons that is reflecting in the numbers. So this is
mm,
also due to Sporting's freedom in taking shots, which is key
mm,
to note when you plan to integrate Gyökeres in your side. Um,
mm,
what is also really, really appreciated about Gyökeres but isn't talked about much is how self-sufficient he is as a striker and how
mm,
he can create goals for himself without the creativity of others. The
mm,
movements, the carries, the dribbles, everything speaks of confidence, in which helps the side create turnovers and actually also transition, because a key theme also and a key argument also has been Portuguese league give you the space, Portuguese league give you the uh, width and time to play on transition. So this is something that also matters during that time. Um,
mm,
what is also spoken of him the most is also that he's capable of playing with his back to goal, and it
mm,
also helps him get out of tricky situations where defenders are also closed down on him. So he can use the core body strength. We've seen how physically fit this dude is, and also as to how he can hold up play and then play those quick passes over the flanks and stuff like that. To
mm,
boost effectiveness from such positions, what he does is he facilitates and picks out more of those risky passes through the wider areas where he can also make runs from post passing it to another player. So
mm,
this is also spoken of to be an issue for him slightly in terms of actually dropping deep and dictating play. Why I think
mm,
that happens is basically of his body orientation, where many refer him to have that truck like body in terms of actually going further forward. So I think that is a problem. It may sound funny, but it is actually something that
mm,
it makes his body orientation uncomfortable. Um,
mm,
his utilization of space is actually very, very decent. The
mm,
positioning that he has, being at the right time, at the right place, when in the box is very key for a fox in the box type of a character. But this guy isn't a fox in the box, he has game outside as well. So this is where
mm,
his game changing aspects come into picture, where he can live in the shadows of defenders, make that
mm,
last minute decision to actually go ahead, fall back and stuff like that, and also make just the instinct in terms of breaking the last line as a channel runner and stuff like that. So
mm,
all of this is obviously being used to his advantage, where he can also bully defenders in ground duels. We've seen a very good example versus Arsenal, where he was taking on Saliba and Gabriel alone without
mm,
any output in front of him. So this
mm,
is how he can function also as the lone outlet for a side. He wouldn't want
mm,
to warrantedly play alongside a striker next to him. He can play really well as a lone striker as well. So yeah.
mm. So what can actually go wrong? I don't know. The man is a literal beast. Like literally looks like a beast. And like you said, he moves like a truck. Fair play. The aesthetics while he runs isn't the most pleasing to watch, but you see the man, he looks like a beast. And like you said, when he was running from the right hand side, he took on Margules and still got a shot. When he was running from the left hand side, he took on Saliba and still got a shot. And it hit the crossbar. I remember that really
Yeah.
well, right? So if as an Arsenal fan, if I'm putting the benchmark that can he go past our defenders and do well, well, he almost did twice. And I've
Yeah.
not seen strikers do that often in the same game, maybe over a period of time, maybe over like two legs or whatever, right?
100%.
Close example, you could say Haaland. When we had Saliba and Magalhaes starting, Haaland maximum breached the defense line once or twice, but over 2 3 games, right? So in that way, he looks to be very very strong. But what like, to the other half of the fan base who says that he has a lot of issues, could you like shed some light about it? Because what
Yeah.
exactly are his issues? People may not be able to like say it to the point. I think that's where you come into light and please shed some light about it.
Yeah. Um, I'll be very unbiased in this situation. I have seen
Mm,
particular instances of him in these particular traits that he
mm,
has lacked, and that has also been the talk from that part of the fans that actually don't rate Gyökeres for these
mm,
particular traits. So one of them is aerially. When I wrote my
mm,
last piece on him in 2024, I had said
mm,
that he has to improve a lot aerially. Fair to say, once one season post that, I think he has had some major improvements in his game. It might not reflect through the goals, but I think
mm,
the attempts look much better now. Why? Because
mm,
he has that height. He just needs
mm,
to take the advantage of it in terms of the right leap, the right technique, getting into those dangerous situations and stuff like that. But
mm,
at the same time, what many would not realize in the same thing is that as much as that is his weakness, he
mm,
manages to take advantage of his weakness by his positioning. And this comes
mm,
along with the understanding of the game. Like you have a cross, as much as you can head that cross and put the ball into the back of the net, he knows it is not his strength.
think,
Hence, he positions himself in a way that he can actually chest down the ball and actually
mm,
shoot the ball whenever required. So I think he has a certain um, understanding of his own game in order to
mm,
actually capably do better in that. One thing that
mm,
I'm very critical myself about him is his
mm,
first touch. So basically, this is something I've noticed last season. This is something I've
mm,
noticed this season, and it hasn't improved majorly. So
mm.
if you are a Jokeres hater, I think you might have seen this as well. Don't be a hater of a
I
player.
waited.
Uh,
That's what. Yeah. Don't be a
yeah,
hater, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on, go on, go
yeah,
on.
critical analysis. So the initial touch, basically in terms of the first touch, I think that keeps him off in terms of actually having the ball more. This
Mm,
then falters his passing efficiencies, the way he wants to move, the passes he can actually play, and like this leads to him creating attacks himself. So
mm,
say that he is back to goal, he has received a pass, he has managed to not control it well. The
mm,
next route for him is to make it up through his own carrying or dribbling. So this then takes
mm,
a complete different alternative where you can say that he wouldn't fit according to the system. He would want to do
mm,
his own thing and become
mm,
unpredictable. So this is one thing
mm,
where also where I've seen him with his back to goal. If there is some serious kind of physical power right behind him, he likes to fall
mm,
to ground. And as much as you can argue that strikers usually do this as a tactical reason in
mm,
order to actually win fouls higher up the ground when they are playing as a transition based side. He has the physicality, although it is very in between, I'd say. Why?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you've noticed the game against Arsenal, he was very strong in holding his ground.
Mm,
He wasn't
yeah.
falling to ground. But you have
Mm,
me saying this yet. Why? Because it is a certain pattern that I have tried to see in his game. I could be very wrong. Don't quote me on it, but I could be very wrong. So
mm,
these particular things, I think, in terms of playing in the Premier League, playing for a
mm,
side like Arsenal, playing for any actually side who are going to
mm,
compete European upfront against the best defenders, I think he needs to make advantage of both his height and his physicality as much as
mm,
it is benefiting him currently. So yeah,
mm. Good, good. Because people have been like very irrational when it comes. Huh?
no, no, continue.
No, no, because people have been very irrational regarding his weaknesses. And when I ask them what, he runs like a truck. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. I'm like, okay, fair play, because even I'm not able to pinpoint on what exactly is his issues. And I'm glad you did that because this is the clarity that people need. this is the clarity that people want to know regarding a player's weaknesses. Because if you keep criticizing him regarding the physicality or the aesthetics, is that really football? Not that is not football, right? So I'm glad you did that. But again, there are teams who can utilize this, who can like take up his strength and take advantage of that in their
Hmm.
team, right? If we are going to talk specifically regarding Arsenal, I like the point where you said where like in case his first touch is bad, he tries to make it up by creating a chance for himself and taking a shot, or lays it off by taking a risky pass, like
Yeah,
how you said was one of his
yeah.
strengths. Right?
Hmm.
Is this the kind of dynamism or the pragmatic thinking that could fit into an Arsenal system? Because if he's coming in there in that position, how do you think another player like Kai Havertz, who's there? Because Kai Havertz is another, you could play him like a target man, like how people want to name him as second striker, or the real simple. Basically, people want Kai Havertz's ability, that is to head the ball and hold the ball, while Yorker is his ball striking ability. Right.
Hmm.
So at an Arsenal, how do you think he would fit? Because it, there are multiple answers. Obviously, there are multiple analysis for it. But like, how do you think this could be like a solution for Arsenal?
Um, Very obvious. He's going to start center forward for Arsenal. Obviously, that's the one
Mm,
position he actually plays the best.
mm,
I think we have a very good option in our side in terms of Kai Havertz, like you said, who can
mm,
actually play as a left center mid second striker, or
mm,
you have Declan Rice playing that role as a box crasher from
mm,
midfield, who can
mm,
actually uh, also benefit from the winger that we have in our side. So
mm,
basically, what I'm trying to say is he the best option in on paper currently for Arsenal is the
mm,
fact that Gyökeres and Havertz can actually align together through each
mm,
other's strengths and weaknesses. Why do I say it?
mm,
One can
mm,
create the space, one can attack the space, one can be
mm,
very smart in the box in terms
mm,
of passes, and one can aerially benefit through those box passes. Then there
mm,
is one who can actually drop deep and link up play, while there is
mm,
another who can actually drop deep, carry from wider zones. And then
mm, mm,
this is where the winger gets elevated into a central position that we have been
mm,
yearning for since the day that Jesus and Martinelli were playing for this club
mm.
as a duo together. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think this would then lead you to ask the question as to, but wait, Declan Rice is our 105 million signing. He needs to be playing
Mm,
for our club. And
mm,
then it is obviously on Mikel Arteta as to choose how it would work. But what I think basically in my eyes is that Rice would basically start as a defensive midfielder versus low blocks. Now, this
mm,
is a video we've recorded post. We've got the here we go for Zubimendi. So,
mm,
what we also think is that Zubimendi and Rice would hold midfield versus the bigger
mm,
sides, where you need
mm,
that physical ability in the side whilst also having the composure. So I think in these games, either Gyökeres or a Havertz start at center forward. But in
mm,
particular low block situations and stuff like that, I think Havertz and Gyökeres start together. We
mm,
spoke
mm,
of Gyökeres' ability to actually carry the ball and dribble, right? So
mm,
this in particular can actually align with Arteta's idea, like we said, how they left how the left winger actually likes
mm,
getting into the central spaces and then actually
mm,
coming inside and doing something other than the touchline shifts that he puts in and get
mm,
actually the better of both. Why? Because
mm,
Joker is likes going wider and carrying, and then the winger would like to come more central to get more
mm,
spaces in terms of
mm,
shooting.
mm,
Lastly, what I'd also want to say in terms of his fit to Arsenal is that we
mm.
spoke of Gyökeres being self-sufficient as a player. He thrives
Uh,
on his own creativity rather than that of others. So I think
okay.
for Arsenal to be highly reliant on him is not the right option. Why? Because Arsenal also function as a cohesive team, right? We function
Mm,
in terms of passes and stuff like that. We don't have like a one-man dribbler through the whole team. But this
mm,
particular trait can enhance Arsenal's pragmatic play in terms of like
mm,
low blocks and stuff like that. Why? Because we can take advantage of those situations just through his dribbling, just through his
mm,
ball carrying with the pace, the
mm,
unpredictable nature that he has, and just the instinctual attacking football that we just get through one player. So
mm,
this in particular, in total, brings a very good package to Arsenal in terms of a
mm,
centre forward who's been banging goals left, right, centre that Arsenal have been
mm.
missing.
Hmm. So before we wrap up the scouting report, right, I have like two things I thought like we could like talk about, which could probably be the questions in like people's minds as well. To let us know in the comment section what you guys think so far as well. Do you agree, disagree? If not, also like let us know in the comment
Yeah.
section, right? So what I want to talk about is like people are saying like how Odegaard can't be used in low block because he lacks the directness and or that movement that we need, right? So do you think ever that it'll come to a point where if Gyökeres ends up at Arsenal, Arsenal's midfield could function with Declan Rice and Havertz, with Zubomendi being there in that midfield? Because let's not forget the fact that there were instances in the Madrid game, as a as a recent example, where he played like a little target man, like to Raya whenever Raya wanted to go long. Because Declan Rice is very good to keep hold the ball as well, along with Kai Havertz, so that can bring the dynamic. Do you think that is possible?
I think I absolutely agree with this. I think this is another route to creativity in games where
Hmm,
com in games where we don't really have to rely on Odegaard, or say there is a situation, touchwood, that Odegaard's injured or stuff like that, and we don't have
hmm,
a creator. What we get
hmm,
is Arsenal's reliance on their wingers on the wide areas
hmm,
in terms of crosses one. The next we
hmm,
get is two target men right there, a long ball to
hmm,
them. You get the
hmm,
ball directly in the final third, and
hmm,
three is you get the self-sufficient nature of Gyökeres. You're
hmm,
getting three different options to progress through, and then you have Declan Rice and Zubimendi both waiting at the base. So you have
hmm.
three different approaches through which Arsenal can actually benefit from the likes of Havertz and Gyökeres playing together if Odegaard is the one who's taking the hit. So yeah, I agree with this.
Right? So, and the second one, majority of the Arsenal fans, probably I'm also guilty for it, if I'm not wrong, right? That he's like a very transitional based footballer and he scores most of his goals like that.
Hmm.
Okay. When Arsenal played against Newcastle, when we were transitioning, which player can we lack on? Huh? There's no so the fact that you're disregarding the player that most of his goals are on transition isn't fair. That league dictates that, but doesn't mean that there is not going to be a possibility here, right? Because
Yep.
when you're playing for the Arsenal and the present Arsenal, you're going to play even in the Champions League. You're going to play teams that will give you a lot of space as well. And in Premier League, a lot of things could not be the case where he get that much space. But again, if he's near the box, he doesn't have to do all the running between, right? He'll be near the box. That is what we need. That's what we've been crying for almost 3, 4 seasons. And the fact that I think a similar example you could say is like Aguero. He's not the tallest guy, but you saw the number of goals he's been banging in the Premier League. So
You can
so
make the same
uh,
argument for even Haaland as well. He doesn't have the hold up play, he doesn't have the passing, he
uh,
doesn't have this,
hmm,
but he breaks every record. In the
hmm,
end of the day, what fans are expecting from a striker is
goals.
finishing, is
Hmm,
goals. Two
hmm,
things, just that.
hmm, hmm,
Everything else is being sought out in different ways at
hmm,
Arteta's current system. So I think
hmm,
if we get a natural goal scorer, I think
hmm,
majority of the issues in terms of
hmm,
even Odegaard's output being so bad, the
hmm,
arguments of all of it, I think
hmm.
can come down to just having better attackers in our attacking line.
Yeah, yeah. And also remember the fact that I said when he went on the right hand side, he took a shot with Magalhaes blocking, and on the left hand side with Saliba. I think Arsenal they've seen the way the front leg keeps rotating, right?
Yeah,
And with that kind of ball striking that he has, imagine him scoring from anywhere in the front three. Who wouldn't want that, right? So I
he can
think
just make defenders uncomfortable right there. So I think this is something we really need.
Exactly. So I think for the price tag that he's available, like for close to like what, 60 to 70 million, and with this much experience in Portuguese league, and with a good background regarding the English league and like the English surroundings, I think it's a decent buy. What do you think though? Like, what is your like final remarks regarding Jokeres? Because As the video progressed, I was sort of convinced, but again, who am I? I'm just
Well,
like a normal fan, but you're the expert here.
I'm no expert here, but
Here, I said
he's
here.
done just. Uh, I think he's done way too much justice in terms of getting fans on his side, in terms of
Mm,
uh, translating his potential to an actual player currently.
mm,
Um,
mm,
this is a profile we need.
mm,
There is not much in terms of attainable targets for us to get
mm,
this summer in
mm,
particular. Why? Because everything just looks wayward for us currently in the market in
mm,
terms of an Isaac, in terms of a Cesco and everything. So I think
mm,
the translation into the Premier League is one of the most difficult things. I think, in my opinion, that can actually happen to him. There
mm,
have been very few players who've done it.
mm,
If he can do it, if the environment created for him in the club, off the pitch, on the pitch, both can vary and make a difference, I think
mm.
Gyökeres is a real option for Arsenal to pursue, and that's what links also say. So hopefully, Arsenal can get this done.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully. Arsenal needs a striker. Arsenal fans need a striker. Arsene Wenger also wanted striker. Please, the board, if you're listening, give Mikel Arteta a striker. I beg you. I beg you. Like, yeah, I think he's a good player. Definitely, I hope this video has answered a lot of questions that people have been criticizing
Yeah.
Gyökeres about. And yeah, I think he will be a solid player for Arsenal. Obviously, I'm on my fence. Again, who isn't, right? Because unless you've done it in the English surroundings, you are not really a proven striker. That is what the common notion is. But
Mm.
whatever, that's what the fans think. Let's just hope we sign him, and yeah, we'll see you soon. It's a long video. We've almost hit 30 minutes while recording. Let's just see how much what is the final cut. But yeah, thank you so much for staying till the very end. Keep subscribing,
Yeah.
keep liking, and keep sharing with all your friends, well wishers, and family out there. We'll see you soon. Till then, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're in the world. Peace.